Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Those of you that are not watching this on YouTube, I am wearing an overall setup right now. I'm very excited to wear this, but Nikki just came in looking like the hottest piece of ass. You guys, is it okay if I call you a hot piece of ass?
Absolutely. I actually prefer that.
I love it. She looks beautiful. Good friend of mine. I'm so excited that you're here today. Nikki, welcome to the show and give us a little introduction.
A little intro about me. Hello, everyone. Nikki Norenberg here.
What is that voice?
What
is this, the sex talk hotline right now?
Hello and welcome.
Ooh, she's got it. Have you done that before? I feel like you'd be really good at it.
No, but I could. I could tap into some things,
Okay.
I'm sure.
Okay.
But I'm Nikki Norenberg, and I am very recently a mother to a sweet little 7-month-old boy. He is like my pride and joy in this moment, and definitely a massive part of my identity. And Tara specifically told me not to go into my business bio. So
You can't. Tell us about your business.
No, I just feel as though right now in my life, I'm in this really cool era where all of the little breadcrumbs I've been served over my life all make sense. Where like every pivot, every chapter, every moment that I did and didn't understand in this moment, I'm like, oh, I get it. And so like for anyone listening that feels like they're in a space of the unknown or they don't really understand where they're going, trust that in the long run, it's going somewhere. Because for me right now, I have just recently massively pivoted like my career. I closed down my coaching business to really pour all of my energy and attention into this movement modality that I've created called EMBODIED. And it is literally infusing the last like 25 years of my life into one experience.
Yeah.
So I was a dancer my entire life. I immediately got into teaching and choreography with that, and then had a massive falling out with dance, which kind of catapulted me into the wellness space where I taught yoga and got really deep into my own self-discovery journey, which naturally led me into supporting other people in their self-discovery journeys. And so where I am now with EMBODIED is all of those pieces are found in this movement experience where I'm connecting people into the power of their bodies through this modality that really has the heart of dance at the center, but you don't have to be a dancer to do it.
Yeah.
And the mindfulness of yoga, where it really gets to be this like moving meditation practice. And inside of it, you're discovering yourself, because as you know, the body is like the most important vessel for us to connect into ourselves, our power, our strength. And so it's really cool to have created this and then just been like, oh, I get it now. And it very strategically waited until I got pregnant to come through me, which I think is a really, really beautiful and interesting thing, because all other parts of me turned off so that I could create life and create this other baby that had been brewing inside of me my whole life, really.
Yeah. Whoa.
Boom, shakalaka.
Wild. We could actually just stop recording now. Okay. Because I know there's a lot of us, myself included, that I'm like, oh yeah, like, what are you talking? What was the moment that you're like, yeah, this is everything until now? Like, was it you having a baby? Was it you actually like building this brand of EMBODIED? Or was it like just this over time, things just started to like open up your vision and see it all come to life?
I feel like my energy was really focused in certain areas. Like dance was my identity, dance was life. And then when it wasn't anymore, because I had like this breakup with it, I found myself gravitating toward wellness and yoga, which is a very different energy than dance. And so I kind of feel like my energy, or my intuition, if you will, was kind of guiding me to explore these very specific avenues, and like really immerse myself in them. And then, you know, right as I was getting pregnant, it was like nothing that I was doing in the past, none of those categories really fulfilled me anymore. And I was like craving this thing that wasn't available. I was craving in my workout classes to like, I was hearing a song and I was like, screw the bicep curl. I want to like reach my arms to the sky, and I want to like feel the music in my body in like a very natural, free, intuitive way. And so I started just kind of listening to songs and creating what I really wished was there for me. And then I realized, oh, this actually is something. So I started trying it on people, and they were like, oh yeah, this is definitely something. So I just believe that I had to sample all of those different areas to then realize that all of them can exist, but they don't quite exist yet, at least in the world that I was living in.
And now it exists under EMBODIED.
Yeah.
How do you see EMBODIED showing up in people that are totally not a dancer or not a yogi or not really in the health and wellness field?
Yeah, so I feel as though dance is inside of every human being. It's the universal language of the soul. I believe that when we turn music on and watch children, they dance.
Yeah.
Like, it's there.
Yeah.
And so whether you identify with dance or not, I think that it's somewhere inside of us. And I also think music is inside of all of us, whether you have rhythm or not. Music elicits emotion and experience. And I think that that's why people seek out concerts and seek out fitness classes and whatnot. But with Embodied, it's an invitation for those that aren't, have no dance in their history, to move differently.
Yeah.
And to move in a way that is releasing structure, right? So much of fitness is structure, which is important, right? Yeah. We need to support our physical body safely and have correct form and everything. But then there's also this component of movement that is really this like free, cathartic, expressive, just like doesn't matter what the form looks like. Like I always say, it's not about the form, it's about the feeling.
Yeah.
And so it's really about creating a feeling in your body, and it could look nothing like me. It could look nothing like the person next to you. I create the container, and your body gets to show up for how it wants to move in what I've kind of created.
Yeah. And I love the way that you're explaining it too, because as someone that isn't a quote unquote dancer, and go to your house or a class, I feel a little intimidated because I'm someone that is very like, I'm strong and powerful and I have muscles, and it's hard for me to move my body that way. But you're so right. Dancing is within our body. It's within our soul. If I'm going to go to ACL and dance all weekend, it's the same thing as being able to move with you in a class or hear my favorite song come on and like move my body. Yeah. And so it's just so valuable to take that back into yourself and be like, how can I move my body freely that makes me feel so good? And with that being said, music is obviously a huge aspect of it. And I don't actually know if I've ever talked to you about like the music component of Embodied or just of your life. So can you tell me just like how music kind of came into your life and how it's brought into Embodied today?
I just got like a vision of my dad and my sister and I dancing in our living room, which is like just a little picture of what music really has meant to me. I feel my dad is a musician. My dad is a drummer. He is literally always playing music, always a little too loud at all times, everywhere. And so music has been in the background of my life since I was very, very little. And I just feel that so many memories for me are attached to different artists or different songs. And we were just constantly moving as a family, whether it was, traveling, hiking, or my sister and I were both dancers. Music was in the background of like all of my favorite experiences. And so for me, it just really gets deep into my heart and into my soul, because it's also a frequency. It just like, it has the opportunity to shift things in an instant when you hear a song that is like with your soul, if you will. Yeah. But yeah, music has been everything for my whole family.
Well, can you think of a song right now that makes you just feel like warm and tingly inside?
Oh my God. Well, this is like not embodied vibes.
That's okay. Just like you right now.
This song Into the Mystic by Van Morrison is like a very nostalgic song. It reminds me of my dad, and it reminds me of we would go on a houseboat growing up. Like it automatically takes me there.
Yes.
And it also came on during my first date with Gunther. It also came on when I was at my wedding venue. It just has like been this symbol of you're on the right track throughout my whole life. Yeah. And it just like makes me want to put my hand over my heart when I think about it and when I listen to it. But like that in and of itself is like, you asked me one song and I'm like giving you a laundry list of memories. Yeah. Right? And that's just the power of what it can do for us.
You know, the song I'm thinking of right now is Sixes to Nines from Big Wild. And that song reminds me of our conversation that we're having right now, because you're like, you can like feel in your body. Yeah. I can turn that song on and like close my eyes and I can just like move the way Nikki moves. I'm like, I feel like my body is like moving. I've never felt this way before. Like it just like,
I love that.
It just like moves through my body. And I love what you're saying about like songs can like bring back certain memories of like weddings. And I'm thinking about the wedding song and like, my parents' wedding song and like every little piece of big moments or big events, there's music. Yeah. Right? And how cool is that we have access to those specific memories just by a song? ah,
I know.
how it's so powerful. It makes
is.
you feel, for lack of a better term, embodied. It makes you feel like you're like really in that moment visually and emotionally.
Yeah. And I feel like even to like beyond embodied, like the class that I've created, it's just like a really kick-ass practice for people to start or end their day with, or if you're like in a bad mood, you got to shift your energy. It's just like turn on 6s to 9s and vibe it out.
Yeah.
Because it's also going to feel different every time you listen to it.
Well, especially because it has 6 and 9.
Well, right. I mean, clearly. We could go a lot of places there.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about sex things now. But actually, what do you listen to when you're banging?
Oh, God. Honestly, I feel like, sadly, nothing. However, sometimes I will go the route of turning on like classic, like Trey Songz R&B. Give me that
course.
baby making music.
I mean,
you know?
honestly, like even if you go on Spotify and you're like sexy music, it's like they're all R&B,
Yep.
hip hop,
Yep.
slow jams. And I'm like, but sometimes I want like a little bit higher RPM, you know?
You're like, let's go. We got to get this.
Depends on the mood, right? But that's the greatest thing about music is like,
Yeah.
you can totally change the whole vibe.
Yeah.
Teddy actually does this a lot too when he's cooking. If he's cooking an Italian meal, it's like, of course, there's gonna be Italian Frank Sinatra and all in the background. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, it really just like sets the mood and it like makes you feel like you're in a different place. So
Totally.
if someone were to want to feel the way that we're talking about, but maybe not have like the same feeling with music, or there's not like a specific song that they can go to feel that way, how would you help them like get there or get that feeling with music and dance?
Well, I think first and foremost, beyond the music, I think that the environment that you're in is also a huge factor. Like for me, I would go to a place in nature because that just makes me feel inspired and makes me feel like one with the universe, right? But it's like being in an environment that makes you feel first and foremost safe, but secondly, like adventurous, curious, wanting to explore, because if it's something that you're unfamiliar with or uncomfortable with, it definitely has to feel safe to explore. And then from there, I just think that turning on, again, a song that feels that like you've heard it 1,000 times, so that you kind of can predict maybe where it's going, so that you're not in this like judgment space of, oh, like I didn't hear that beat, or I didn't know that was coming. And it's like finding a familiarizing song where you can predict, so that again, it's like coming back to the baseline of safety, because I think that also our bodies hold so much history, emotion, wisdom, and that can also be really intense and alarming. And so creating safety in your environment and in your music is important.
Oh, that's so important. And honestly, that can be like with so many other aspects, right? Like if we're talking about fitness journey, it's like, why go for like the crazy exercises or like these hard workout? If you want to just like get back into it, you go to the basics, right? You just squat, deadlift, you push, you pull. Like, that's all, right? And that can be the same thing with music, or the same thing with movement. It's like, go back to what you know. Maybe it's a 2-step or a side step. Just like start with that, and then you can always like kind of start to add stuff in, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
We talked a little bit about baby making music, and I think that's a great shift into your baby.
Great. We made a baby.
Like,
yes.
Damn it! I segued, and we could have been really great with the R&B. Oh my God, that's what you used for. What was the song?
Not a song.
Do you remember the song that you? Because I actually remember. You told, I was like, I know you're pregnant. I knew it. And you're just like, oh, and you wanted to tell us when you wanted to tell us, of course. But then you were like, I knew the time when it happened, when you got pregnant. Was there a song?
There was no song. It was very like, we're having sex tonight. We're doing this. But it was like right after a bunch of vacations, and it was just the music of our hearts.
Did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
Yeah, I did. But you know what's really interesting is I grew up with a sister who was like the child whisperer, and I actually was never very good with children. So I was like, this will be interesting when I become a mom, because I kind of automatically was like, well, she'll be better at it, right? Because I just have one sister, so we're comparative. And I never felt good with kids. So I was always wondering like, how will I be as a mom? And I always like kind of pushed it a little bit further, and I wanted to like wait because my sister got started very early. And I think even up to the moment before I got pregnant, I just really like asked myself, like, am I cut out for this? Like, can I do this? And then I I just like separated like the identity of mother and what that looks like in society or what it looked like in my family or like specifically with my sister. And I was just like, you have always had a really big heart. Like I have cared so deeply for the people in my life and for like my pets and for my friends and for just like so many other people. I knew in that moment that it didn't have to be like a description of what mom means. It's like, no, your heart is huge.
Yeah.
And you get to love with whatever your heart wants to love, like, and that's how you create your motherhood journey. So I really feel that I've been learning what it means to be a mom through just being a loving human being.
Yeah.
Because we can get really caught up in what it's supposed to look like.
For sure.
And I'm just not into that.
But you always knew. You just wanted to wait longer until you were like ready.
Yeah.
Obviously you were ready that night when you said, let's have and the whole journey of being pregnant and obviously becoming a mom has shifted a lot of your life and who you are and who you've become. And I want to just know like how that journey has been for you from basically, you know, February of 23 to now where it's been a year and a half since you've been pregnant and now 7 months out. Like, if you could describe that in a couple sentences, how would you describe that feeling or the transition? It doesn't have to be a couple sentences.
Yeah,
right?
sister, I'm like, come on. I mean, I can't do that. I think that it completely, like all of my expectations or assumptions, it was none of that. I thought that I was going to love being pregnant since I am like so in my body.
Yeah.
And I think that because I'm so in my body, I was highly attuned to everything that felt off, which the little like perfectionist in me was like pretty annoyed by.
Yeah.
So the actual physicality of pregnancy I actually struggled with, and so much of what I was used to and like my energy and my creativity, I literally felt like my lights turned off because all of my energy and focus was going toward literal physical human creation.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this thing on? Like, where did you go? Like, I could not like do anything that I felt like I used to do. And so once I stopped resisting that, I just like sunk into it. And I was like, all right, this is a season for you to slow down, put aside all of the like crazy entrepreneurial things that I had going on and just be in your body and be with your child. Because I also think that he wanted me to be more present with him. And I have been really, really present with him since the moment he was born. I'm pretty much full-time mom right now, other than like building Embodied on the side a little bit. But he has been just the greatest teacher and stretchy little guy for my entire experience. I feel like anything that you haven't worked on or feel, what's the word? Or just feel like is still in transition, like it's like a mirror gets shown up against you and it's like, okay, it's time to work on this now because there is no time like the present and you have somebody else relying on you.
Yeah.
And so he has stretched me in a lot of ways, but I literally have felt myself and my capacity expand every day. Every day I can hold more. Every day I can handle more. And every day I just realize that women are badass mother truckers.
You can say the word fuckers here.
Fuckers.
I actually remember during your pregnancy, that shift.
Yeah.
I remember going on a couple walks with you where you're like, oh, but I really want to do this. And then you finally, like, there was one walk that we went on that you were just like, no, I think it's time for me to like lean into this new phase of life.
Yeah.
And time for me to take a break and relax. And I know as a mover myself, we both are, it's hard to just be like, this is not who I am anymore, or like shift that. And so this is for me, but maybe some other listeners, how does it feel to not be able to do the things that you used to do or could do?
You know, I'm going to specifically talk about postpartum.
Okay.
Because pregnancy is one thing I actually lifted very close to the end. Lifting was heaven sent for me. Yoga and anything stretchy felt like shit. So pregnancy movement for me was okay. But postpartum, I was blessed with both diastasis. Is that how I say it?
Yeah.
Thank you. diastasis, and prolapse, which deeply impact movement. And
she was blessed.
It's
like when I say I'm blessed with thin, fine hair. They were like, "Oh, yeah, you're so blessed."
Well, you got to just it's the card that's dealt,
right?
So you got to just accept it.
Yep.
And it took me a minute because I did have a pretty traumatic doctor experience where she told me that I could never run, lift, or dance again. I think that she should be fired. But after unpacking that, I realized, wow, there's actually so many ways that I can support myself. And it really is just about finding a better way and being okay with modifications. Like, in fact, I went to Barry's the other day and did double floor, and I modified the shit out of everything in the front row, and I felt empowered as hell. I was like, yes, I know what I'm doing. Yes, I am modifying, and I feel amazing because y'all are pushing yourselves and maybe pushing yourselves through discomfort and injury, and I'm actually like, I know exactly why I'm modifying, and that's really empowering because I had to go to the depths of figuring out how I could move again in the ways that I wanted to through rebuilding my core and pelvic floor, and now I'm equipped with so much more energy on how to move in every facet of life moving forward. Yeah.
I don't want to relate this to injury because it is very, very different. But sometimes when people say I injured an ankle or a knee or a hip or whatever, and they're like, well, I'm off. I got it. I'm done for the next 8 weeks. But like, really, you can work around it.
Yeah.
Right? We can do a lot of upper body stuff. You can do movement that makes you feel good in other aspects.
Yes.
So this is just like a prime example of like you doing what's best for you in this phase that you're in.
Yes.
And like ultimately, you can either go back to kind of what you were doing before, or this is just this next chapter that you're in and it feels good the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think too, it has forced me, I should say, to slow down.
Yeah.
Because I also believe that although you can get your body aesthetically back to a place that looks semi-similar, your body will never be the same.
Yeah.
Ever. Too much has happened, too much has shifted and like opened for your body to ever be the same. And I think that going back into movement, I had to remind myself of that over and over again. Your body is different forever.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock. That's not a bad thing. That's actually getting to be new at something again.
Yeah.
And that was like the greatest gift for me. The other day I did mountain climbers for the first time in like a year, and I felt like a kid in a candy shop because I was like, I have slowly made my way up to the point where I feel comfortable being able to do mountain climbers, and revisiting them again for the first time after I have been slowly working my way up there felt so beautiful and exciting. And it's like the littlest things like that where you get to return to something in a different body, in a different mindset, and receive so many more benefits than if you just like popped back into a mountain climber. You have so much more perspective and gratitude for movement and the movements that bring you joy, you know?
Yeah. I saw that video. It was so cute. You were so happy. Would you compare this? And again, these are not comparisons, but as someone that has not gone through the full childbirth, I don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
But you were a dancer for forever, and then you had this loss of identity, and you had to break up with it. Could you compare slightly the body that you used to have to the body that you are now as being different and something that you're figuring out?
For sure. My body is very different, and I like when I look at it physically, I would say I am still healing the relationship that I have with how it looks. Because as a dancer, I also had a ton of pride in my physical body because it was like my vessel, my heart, my communication, like everything came through my body. And really, I'm realizing was such a big part of my identity. And now I'm looking at my body and I'm seeing the shift, and I'm like, but now my identity is mother and mother that moves. And it doesn't matter if I have the perfect six pack or if I have some stretch marks, because I get to see my body as something that created and birthed life and still gets to move and is still learning new ways to move. Because we also need different things in this new body. Like I need slower activation of things before I can go into bigger movements. And I have to retrain like my breath mechanics and a lot of lifts and things. But again, it's just making me so much more mindful in everything that I approach. And I see that as a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I went off the tangent there.
No, it's so great. And it's like, it's such another way to like check back in and be back, you know, aware of your body. But I think that a lot of people, listeners, could have these like body image things and it could really tear you down. And I think what you're saying is like, I'm able to do this. Like, can you, I'm like, moms are superheroes. Like the fact that you go through this, like it is the coolest experience ever, I'm sure. And it's so cool as an outsider because I think like moms are just superheroes in general. You birthed a fucking life, right? But we're constantly looking at a mirror and being like, well, I wish that this was different. I wish I wish it was smaller here, whatever. What do you do besides reminding yourself that I did this thing? How do you get your mindset out of that like negative body image?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The first thing that comes to my mind is finding neutral. Because I think that in life, whether it's body image or negative self-talk, we try so hard to go from a negative place to a positive affirmation place. And I think that that's bullshit and not really accessible.
Sure.
I think finding neutrality in life allows for us to exhale. It allows for us to actually be like, okay, I'm not okay, but I'm not terrible. I just am. And I just am in this moment. And it's like almost like identifying like, okay, I see a stretch mark here, but I also see the scratch on my chest because my son was breastfeeding with his talons and that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like being able to identify things from a neutral place and just be like, I accept that.
Yeah.
Because then from there, I think that we're actually able to shift the needle a little bit into the upper vibrational stuff, because I think body image carries a lot of history, a lot of memory, and it takes time. So yeah, I guess my advice would be finding neutral and identifying.
Yeah, I think that the neutrality piece of it is huge, but also just checking the facts, which is what you were doing with, you know, Sully scratching you or what's happening or this mark on your body or whatever. And that's actually something that I've learned from my therapist is like, oh, you know, like I go down these like negative hole of like this, what is she thinking? Yeah, I think I've told you this before. We've had dinner one time and I'm like, oh, did I say something that might have hurt her feelings? It's like, what are the facts of the conversation? We had a great time.
Yeah.
This is, you know, we had dinner together, whatever. And I think it's just so valuable to just like come back into like what is reality.
Yes.
Other than what's happening in our head.
Right.
What's happening when we look at ourselves in the mirror.
Right. Because we will spiral.
Yeah.
And that is like anxiety. I mean, like when I was in my coaching world and I did a lot with intuition, it's like, what's the difference between intuition and anxiety? It's like anxiety puts you on a roller coaster and you spin and you spiral around. And that actually isn't like truth. It's like what we create, right? Yeah. But intuition or truth is like, it's like the passing of a paper airplane. Yeah. It's just like, I see an airplane. It's like the reality of the present moment is what is. And I think that the difference there is if we continue into a story building or spiraling, or if we can just pause with a period.
Yeah. What have you learned the most from Sully over the past 7 months or so?
Oh my God.
One sentence only.
Honestly, well, right now I am really learning patience and trusting that things take time and that I'm not in control. And that it's okay to not get it perfect the first time. Like it truly is, it's a co-creation of life. Yeah. And I think that putting so much pressure as a parent to get it right and there's so much information out there of what your friends are doing or what Instagram tells you to do. But I think learning that my child is my child and we have a bond and like we have a little soul contract happening in our life experience together and I need to respond to him, not to what somebody else has told me to do.
Yeah.
So really just letting our experience be a co-creation and read him and allow myself to show up as what he needs instead of what I think he needs.
What do you, when you said like, you know, it can't be perfect the first time, what would perfect mean?
Great question. that he goes down to bed the first time,
Yeah.
that he likes to swaddle. It's like all of these mile markers that I think that society oftentimes labels like, oh, is he a good baby? And I'm like, what in the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
There's these markers of like, oh, your baby's good if they sleep through the night, if they can soothe themselves, that they can do this, this, and that. And I'm like, that's actually so messed up that we're measuring good and bad according to like how their bodies are acclimating to the world, because this world is also very stimulating and there's a lot happening. And babies, just as adults, need different things to feel safe and stable. So that would be the perfect, like, you can't do it perfect the first time, is like, we don't have to measure up to actually any measurement.
Yeah. And I think that there's so much information out there right now. And I'm sure as as you've become a mom, this is a new thing for you, right? You're probably like, I don't really know what to do. And of course you have your sister and you have your mom and you have your friends and other people, and you're trying to figure it out yourself. But like, is there a point where you just feel like so overloaded or overwhelmed with all the information there is and just really don't know what to do?
Yeah. In the very early days, I was like a Google machine, which is, I mean, if you Google that you have a cold, they're going to tell you you're dying. It's very similar to child care. It's like your kid's going to die or something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so I really realized very early on that seeking out the internal voice over anyone else is the way to go. And when I don't really know what to do, I have to sit and listen a little bit longer. Because I really do believe that parenting is very intuitive.
Yeah.
And if we allow ourselves that spaciousness in our mind, even amongst the chaos, to just like exhale and breathe, and again, like identify the present moment, what are the facts? And then just like allow some sort of wisdom to show itself to you, it always shows up. And so I really believe that my practice of patience has been the biggest catalyst for my decision making.
Yeah. Has that shown up for like yourself, your body, your business and stuff as well?
Yeah, bit by bit for sure. I think I'm so immersed in motherhood right now. It's slowly bleeding into other things, definitely, but I'm also like, I feel like a baby deer that's still learning to walk, like in so many of the other ways, because I'm also very cognizant of wanting to re-enter back into spaces in this just like elevated version of myself, because I really feel that my energy and my purpose in this world just expanded tenfold so quickly. And like I kept saying, like I'm holding more and more capacity. I'm also really just cautious as I'm holding more capacity to not take on too much, because an old pattern for me would be to say yes to everything. You know, the MG in me wants to do it all. And so really just slowing it down and being very, very intentional is what's holding me.
And
right
are
now.
you excited to jump into that world, or do you feel like there's always that piece of you that like wants to be home with Sully?
I think more balance would be healthy for me.
Yeah.
I like really love being in the world and like being with people. Like I definitely am a community person, and I think that actually when I am more balanced in that way, I'm a better mom because I have more excitement and more like creative energy to pour into him than when I'm like, what can we do next? Okay. So I do have a sense of eagerness of getting back into more things, but I also, time is so precious right now that I can't say yes to everything. And I think that this has been one of the greatest blessings of motherhood, is it really forces you to be decisive about what is contributing to the life that you want to have and build and what is not. Because you can't say yes to everything. You have to say no because you don't have the time or capacity. So right now, I'm only saying yes, hell yes, to the things that I really feel are building that life that I want. And sometimes it can be really challenging. But I am excited to continue to get back into the world more and more. But I'll do that once I come back from Minnesota.
Well, I also appreciate that you're taking this hour to spend it with me,
Tara.
I mean, oh my God, wow! I feel
love
so valued, and I appreciate our friendship so much.
I appreciate our.
You said that time is precious now. Is it not always precious?
Oh, it is. But I really feel that in my experience, I didn't value it the way that I value it now. Like looking back, I would have done things different with my time.
Like what?
I just feel that I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of energy questioning, scrolling, wondering what if, instead of just saying, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, or I don't want to do this. It's like the people pleasing exits.
Yeah.
And you really have to distill what you want and who you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that before he came into my life, I was like, sure, yes, whatever, because I thought that that was helping me figure things out. And to a degree, it was. And I'm really witnessing how much time I wasted, because now I get like maybe 2 uninterrupted hours of my day, and I am able to accomplish things I couldn't accomplish in one full 8-hour day. No joke. It's insane.
It's funny that you say that, though, because I've known you for a couple years now.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're the type of person that says something and does the fucking thing. There's a lot of people that'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this. And you're like, no. You say you're going to do stuff. She's like, I'm going to run this thing when I'm in Minnesota for 2 weeks, and then has 2 people like sign up that day. Like, you do the thing. And so, yeah, I'm sure we all waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I think I was more talking about, you said the time is precious now. And in my mind, I thought you were talking about the time with Sully. And maybe that was like the little disconnect, because I feel like the time that you have with him now is obviously very valuable and precious and amazing. But also every day with him is probably going to be like that.
Yeah.
As he gets older and gets more personality, and like he becomes a human, right? And so like, what is that? What does that balance actually really look like for you and your family long term?
Yeah. I love that you like brought this forward, because it is a practice for me to pause in what feels like now the automation of my life, right? We get into these like automatic processes of what we do all the time. And like now Sully's in my day-to-day process, right? Like he is consuming like most hours of my day, and then we've kind of created like different patterns to really pause and just be in the moment and looking at him. And I have been practicing like my gratitude and like, wow, look at his eyelashes in this moment, or wow, look at like the things that he's doing. Even though he's not sleeping, he's developing so much right now, and calling forth what is now happening so that I can like anchor that memory into and imprint it into my heart, because I do feel that life passes so fast. And even the fact that he's 7 months now, I'm like, I don't even remember him being a little potato, like 3-month-old, but that was actually not that long ago, and it feels like an eternity ago, because I do feel that the beginning of my postpartum journey, I was struggling a lot more, and now I am actually like conscious to say, pause, this is special. And I think attaching that too to like my partnership with Gunther. I mean, it's so easy when you have a kick-ass spouse to like take him for granted. It's, hey, honey, what's up? Like, well, let's have dinner. And it's like, no, to really sink in and just be like, wow, we chose each other and we're creating this life together. That's badass. And I think that can go for everything.
Of course.
Jobs, friends, everything.
Yeah.
But taking time to really call out the things that matter in the moment, coming back to that present moment acknowledgement.
It just puts things into perspective, right? And
Yeah.
I think that like every year as I get older, I'm just like, time flies. And I can't imagine like having a baby, like it probably goes even faster, because you're like with them every day and they're like, oh my God, this eyelash is longer. Now he has a tooth. Now he has this. It's like, he said dada, even though he should be saying mama.
Correct.
Like, you know, like things happen so fast. And like, we only have this one beautiful life. And it's like, why not take advantage of it in the best, most authentic way we can? But with that comes the balance of the hard stuff and the good stuff and the neutral stuff, right? It's all involved with it together.
Well, and a very common phrase in motherhood is everything is temporary. And that is both a blessing and very sad, or something like that. I probably butchered that, but it's true with everything in life, is like everything is temporary. So when you love something or you love an era, that's going to pass. And that's sad, but beautiful in the moment. And then when things are really, really hard, that's also going to pass, and it's going to like shine again. And so with everything in motherhood, with the challenge, with the beauty, it passes, and it oftentimes passes a lot quicker than I want it to.
Yeah.
But then it just keeps going into the next thing and into the next thing. And that's where the capacity just keeps expanding of the unknown, being able to hold the unknown, and also being able to adapt without being able to prepare.
Yeah.
Because there is no preparation.
I was going to say, I feel like there's no real preparation with it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, even you could see your life going one way and maybe it shifts along the way and like things might happen and ebb and flow. But it's like if you come back to like what you want to create and your why, it's like that's the most valuable thing of it all.
Yeah.
But I think having a partner with you is obviously like really valuable and also someone you can really lean on. Yeah. Do you guys have anyone else here that you really feel like that you can lean on like in the Austin area? Because I do know that your family's in Minnesota.
Yeah, you know, it's been a really interesting season because, you know, I always felt okay living away from my family because I always knew the intention of why I was living in different places. Like I really feel that my life has flourished as I've left the nest, if you will. Yeah. But having a baby, I do understand why people want to be closer to family. Yeah. Because, like, for instance, Gunther and I had horrific food poisoning, and we have so many friends. And it was just like, we had to call in the troops of like people taking shifts and like coming in and out of the house. And of course it was great. And we were so honored to do that. This would have been a great opportunity to be like, hey mom, come take him. Yeah. And please just like put us to peace instead of us like having to coordinate so much. Right. But we have an incredible community here, including you and Teddy. And I feel so lucky that our friends love our child like a family would, because I also think that like chosen family is just as important. And, you know, I have a group of friends that also has a bunch of babies, and seeing Sully be able to be around babies because my sister's kids are older, so the age gap is significant. It just like allows for me to feel like, oh, we're still creating that energy of this like family, regardless of my actual blood family being here. But we are prioritizing, you know, traveling to go back and forth to see them and really savoring those moments. So
I love that so much. What are you looking forward to most in the next year of his life and your life?
I'm just excited to continue witnessing who he's here to be. I think that there are so many clues in childhood as to who your soul is as an essence. Like I always said in my coaching work, like we don't actually like necessarily evolve. We just become more of who we always were. And I think that our inner child is just abundant in personality, authenticity, and oftentimes like a little bit of our purpose is found in just like a totally different way. And I can't wait to just be so aware of that as he grows and continues to just show us who he is, and to be able to like harness that for him. That for Sully, and really just continue to see how we want to build our lives. I mean, I know that Gunther and I continue to have this conversation, like, what is the life that we actually want to create? Because when you're in it, you're like, yeah, this is cool. And what if we did it a little bit differently? We have a little bit of a wanderlust vibe in us still. So we're wondering what that's going to look like and how we can, you know, do that with children. And I think that we're really in this massive just openness of co-creation of like, what do we want our life to be? And how do we want to create a childhood that is really kick-ass to, you know, foster an amazing life for somebody, but also for ourselves. So
how does it feel to be in a place of kind of this uncertainty though, of like, you know, kind of what you want, but you don't know like what it's going to really look like?
You know, in accordance to like the life and the location specific, it actually excites me because the greatest eras of my life have looked like this. Like I never knew I was going to move to LA to pursue professional dance, even though I danced my entire life. It was like right before it happened, all of a sudden it was like, you're going to do this. And I was like, shit, okay. And then I did it and my whole life changed. And then like same thing with Austin is it's like, I almost feel that the next chapter doesn't present itself to me until right before it happens. Although all of the scenes prior to it, like there's a lot of like underwork going on, but then when the door opens, it's like, okay, I'm going, I'm here, I'm prepared. But so for me, I have inklings, but I don't know exactly. And I know it'll present itself when it's ready. So I'm just excited about when that happens. And I trust that it's going to be at the right time. And the right thing.
The universe will guide its way. You're
Yeah,
like
me and Teddy.
genius.
Me and Teddy.
What is one thing you wish you knew before you started your fitness, wellness, health journey?
One thing that I wish that I knew before I started my journey. That every single day will feel and look different. I think that there's a lot of perfection and competition and things infused in any form of movement. And I think that, like, you know, a little healthy competition is great. But I also think being able to understand that, like, as living, breathing humans, we're different every single day. As a woman with our cycle, we're different every day. And that we have to have way more compassion for how we're showing up and how varied that looks. Because our body isn't supposed to do the exact same thing every day. And I think overarchingly, we could all greatly benefit from responding instead of forcing.
Reacting.
Yeah, reacting.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What do you want to leave the audience with? What do you want to promote? What do you want to tell them about? Where can they find you? All the things.
Well, honestly, like, what I would love to leave people with, just to kind of bring everything back to center, is to find a song that you absolutely love, whether it's nostalgic from your past or whether it really inspires you in this moment, and, like, put yourself in a setting that you can just, like, let it rip and drop in and listen to the song and just move your body, and, like, in a really free, cathartic, joyful, whatever way, but just, like, move, and then stand in stillness after and just feel.
How long are we waiting?
2 minutes.
People need time.
2 minutes.
Like, specific.
Do your song
Are
and
we
then
putting-
stand for 2 minutes.
Are we putting a blindfold on?
No, God, you want me to get dangerous here?
Do we need to listen to music in headphones? Or can
No.
we have a speaker?
Just listen to music and let it rip, and then stand for 2 minutes after and just feel. Because I think that oftentimes we move on too quickly. Once we're in feeling, we're like, we want to move on, and it's like, no, feel what you're feeling, sit with it, and just be there. So that's my takeaway, my homework for everybody.
I love that.
Promotion wise, I think that this is coming out after my 21-day whole self reset is coming through, which is going to be embodied full life classes, but then also these really, like, accessible bite-sized moving meditations, which I might, you know, share with people after it's live. Otherwise, I'm probably going to start hosting Embodied live online.
Amazing.
well.
Where can people find you online?
At Nikki.Norenberg on the IG. That's, like, where I'm the most active. My website is also, like, inaccurate because I'm in pivot mode. So, you know, the old gram.
The Instagrams
is where she lives.
Also has a couple of viral videos on TikTok. If you
Oh,
check those out.
God. Come on.
Thank you so much for being here. This was such a wonderful conversation. I hope you all got so much from it, as I always do every time I'm with you. And I just appreciate your presence and who you are. So thank you.
Love you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Love you.
Yay.